What if I told you that with just 3 words, you could make hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars? Sounds like a scam, yes, I know. But I attribute all of my success to this one 3-word sentence. But wait, before we get to that, who am I and why the hell should you even bother listening to me? My name is Benjamin Seda, and at the age of 20 years old, my businesses had managed to break past the 6-figure mark. And I did what any 20-year-old would do. I dropped out of college and decided to travel a lot. Super cliche, I know, but fast forward 2 years later and I'm here in this beautiful Alfa Romeo 4C Spider. Man, this car is fucking sick. But as dope as this car is, it's just a rental. I just wanted something fun to drive around the coast for the day. This was actually my first time driving a luxury sports car like this. This is what I actually drive. Yeah, not a big car guy yet, but instead of flexing my wealth and rented cars on you guys, I'd like to talk about you. My story and how I ended up here in this dope car is only relevant if it helps you achieve success too. Otherwise, you shouldn't care. The most common question I get is from young people who have a lot of drive and passion to become an entrepreneur, but don't know where to start. And while I can only speak on my narrow field of personal experience, I'd like to share what I think is a replicable system for achieving success early on. It all comes down to these 3 words: learning before earning. In early 2015, I was listening to a podcast by Tim Ferriss, and he was saying how when you're young and early in your career, the most important thing to focus on is learning before earning. 5 years later, I attribute my success to those 3 words, and all of my experiences have confirmed this to be true. In fact, I've even found that learning before earning is actually more profitable in the long run. The reason I found this to be true comes down to this: your earning potential is dictated by your skill set and knowledge. If you don't have a valuable skill set, then you won't be a valuable asset to an employer and you'll be paid very little. On the other hand, if you do have a valuable skill set, then you'll be paid very well by an employer and have the skills to start your own successful business if you wanted to. When you maximize for learning, you're increasing the value of your skill set and your knowledge. And these 2 things, your skill set and your knowledge, are the most important thing. By increasing these 2, you are therefore increasing your potential for earning in the long run. When you try maximizing for earnings at a young age, your earning ceiling is very low. Your skill set and knowledge is limited. It's finite, meaning you'll be compensated accordingly. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they're preparing to get a job after college. Maximizing for earnings at a young age is very short-sighted and actually counterproductive because there's a high opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of not optimizing for learning is higher because your knowledge, skills, and expertise all compound over time. The sooner you can acquire them, the more they'll compound and prove to be profitable in the long run. This means you'll miss out on opportunities with this particular skill set at a higher earning potential. Think about it like an investment. Imagine you invested $100 and it accrued 10% interest per year. At the end of year 1, you would have $110. Let's say you reinvest it for year 2, you would have 10% of $110 instead of 10% of just $100. So therefore, you would have 10% of $110 instead of 10% of just $100. This is why maximizing on learning before earning is so powerful. Your knowledge, your skills, and your expertise all compound over time. The more you learn, the more your skills and knowledge increase. And over time, this compound effect of learning can lead you to becoming one of the top-rated people in your field because your skills and your knowledge outrank anyone else around you. And if you become one of the few people with expertise in a certain field, people will seek you out and pay top dollar for your skill set. Similarly, if you become insanely skilled, you'll have the knowledge and ability to start your own business utilizing this skill set, and you'll have a higher likelihood of success as someone with lower skills and lower knowledge than you. On the other hand, if you focus on just trying to find the highest paying job, you'll only get marginal returns, and your ability to make more money in the future will be severely limited. To paraphrase Tim Ferriss, what would you rather have? A job that makes you $20,000 more per year in your 20s, leading you to climbing the corporate ladder and end up making $100K to $200K a year in your 30s? Or lower paying job from 20 to 25, but one that teaches you the skills and knowledge that lead you to making millions in your 30s. There are not many corporate jobs that will pay you more than 100 to 200K on the higher end. So you're playing a game with a low ceiling and low long-term returns if you focus on earning too early in your career. And as Sam Altman says, if you want to get rich, the way to do it is via equity, not salary. In simple terms, stronger skill set and stronger knowledge equals more wealth in the long run. The traditional example of this is doctors and lawyers earning significantly more because their extra years of schooling enhance their skill set and knowledge. Therefore, they're more valuable and demand a higher pay grade. This is why the average salary for someone coming out of college is only $47,000 to $50,000. At the start of your career, your skills and knowledge are almost non-existent, thus you make very little. College graduates usually don't have real work experience, so the company that hires you is taking on the cost of needing to train you and show you these skills. This is why kids fresh out of college don't get paid very much, and people without college degrees get paid even less. They're considered to have very low skills and knowledge. But nowadays, you can leverage the internet to learn virtually anything and massively sharpen your skills and increase your knowledge. Let's use me, for example. I don't have a business degree from college. I studied business in school for maybe a year under an economics degree. And after the first year, I dropped it and went to study environmental science / sustainability, just because I didn't feel like I was learning anything in business school. And yet, even though I did that, I am now a full-time entrepreneur and can make enough money to live and cover my expenses doing business full time. Now, I don't say this to brag, I say it because I don't have any traditional training in the form of a degree or college. All of my experience comes from one, the internet, and two, or I guess we're on four now, but all of my experience and training comes from the internet, my own personal experience, and working under entrepreneurs at a startup. And this leads me to the second biggest mistake I see college kids doing, aside from just maximizing for earning. When I was in college, I saw a lot of kids maximizing for prestige. Being prestige hungry is another common trap. When I was in university, a lot of kids subscribed to the idea of resume padding. The thought that if I put this big name company on my resume, I'll be hired at better companies in the future and be paid more. While this is true to a certain extent, employers are most interested in whether or not you have the skills and knowledge to actually do the best work for them. And the more skills and knowledge you acquire, the better positioned you are to seize opportunities in the market and build your own businesses to take advantage of them and make more money. Instead of looking for prestige, you should be looking to work at the companies where you can learn the most and develop the strongest skills. And these aren't always the same companies that will look great on a resume. Oftentimes, the bigger the company, the less you'll be able to learn. For example, people at smaller startup companies tend to have more responsibilities and have stronger incentives to do good work, because if the work doesn't get done, the company won't make any money and everybody will be out of a job. At larger companies, things are more established, there are more processes in place, and the impact you can have is exponentially smaller because you're one person of a few thousand as opposed to one person of a few dozen at a startup. And perhaps the most dangerous thing I found about being prestige hungry is that most people are just doing it because they want to impress the people around them. I would know, since for a long time I was perhaps one of the most prestige hungry people I know. I even considered going into finance and working in investment banking, even though I had no interest in this at all. I simply wanted to do it because it paid the biggest salary coming out of college, and I thought if I made a lot of money and worked at one of the big finance companies, that I would be more respected and the prestige would make me happy. Thankfully, I didn't fall into that trap, and I realized, wow, I don't like any of this. None of this is interesting to me. So one of the biggest things I tell people who are looking for career advice in college or quickly out of college is a job could provide all the prestige in the world, but none of it would matter if you were fucking miserable and hated doing it. Luckily though, the internet makes it easier to find the right opportunities for internships and apprenticeships, which is honestly where you'll learn the most. First internship I got where I learned most of my business knowledge and skills came from a job posting on a website. This led me to working directly under the co-founder of a multi-million-dollar software startup and learning the ropes of marketing, product management, and scaling a business. I ended up working at the company for 2 more years after that first summer internship while still in school, and my knowledge and skills increased drastically. I was able to apply these learnings to the businesses I had started at the time, and Base Zeus became the #1 beneficiary of all that I learned. Everything I learned from working at this company and under this seasoned entrepreneur, I directly applied to my own businesses, and if it weren't for the skills and knowledge I acquired here, I don't know that Base Zeus would be as successful as it is today with over 1 million subscribers. In those 2 years, the company scaled from 15 people to over 50 people and went from a few tables in a co-working space to a corner office in downtown Manhattan and 2 new offices across the country. The learning there was unparalleled because the company had evolved so much so fast. When I walked in there and stepped foot into that office, it was a totally different company than when I left to pursue my businesses full time. This would have never happened if I went and took a job at one of the huge companies, because rarely does a big company that's already established and been around a long time go through a growth period like this. Business fundamentally changes so much as you scale, as you add new people, as you change physical locations, as you open other offices, and the learning that came from that is worth 10 times more than any business school degree. If I worked at a large company, I would have never gotten to see what business growth like this looked like. I would have seen business as usual and been surrounded by people with no impact on the company's bottom line. Because I realized the immense value of learning from skilled mentors in the field and getting real-world experience from people who are doing it successfully at scale, even to this day, my main focus is still on learning. Learning has been the #1 source of my happiness in my life, which makes me really lucky, I guess. Just a few months ago, even though I have my own multi-6-figure businesses, I worked alongside someone for free, yes, for free, for 3 months, all because he was one of the best marketers in the world, and I knew the time spent alongside him would lead me to making more money and learning in the long run. Me, someone running multiple businesses and making quite enough money, was working for free for someone else. And was it worth it for the time? Hell fucking yes. As fortunate as I've been thus far, I'm still only 22 years old and have plenty to learn from those further ahead than me. I actually was advised from some of my closer friends to not even bother doing this. Like, why would you work for free? The opportunity cost of you just working on your own businesses is higher. And maybe they were right, but I feel super strongly that the learning I gained in those 3 months was and will continue to be valuable for years to come, for the rest of my career. I learned more in those 3 months than I did in the past year alone. And I'm constantly hunting for more opportunities like this. If you want to build real wealth, then you should constantly be looking for opportunities that will bolster your learning and improve your skill set. I know this video is a long one, but I think it's probably one of my most important videos to date. Learning before earning is the reason I'm here in front of this camera today talking to you without a boss telling me what to do, and how I have the luxury to almost never wake up to an alarm clock. And anytime somebody asks me how I was able to get to the small level of success that I'm at today, I tell them exactly what I just told you, and that is to focus on learning before earning, because I truly believe that is the most important sentence I've ever heard in my entire life. Tim Ferriss, if you happen to be watching this, there's no way he is, but Tim Ferriss has fundamentally changed my life twice now. When I was 17 years old and I read The 4-Hour Workweek for the first time and thought, wow, entrepreneurship is something that maybe I should think about or pursue. And second time when I heard his quote, and I heard this idea of learning before earning, because both of those instances have probably made the biggest impacts on my life. So thank you, Tim Ferriss. If I ever meet you, I'm gonna give you a big old hug. And that, my friends, is it. I know this video is a long one. I just really thought it was important to put all my thoughts on this topic out there because it truly is the #1 force multiplier in my success. And I would not be here today, or probably anywhere today, if it wasn't for this idea of learning before earning. So if you like this, then be sure to follow me on Instagram. I talk about topics like this all the time in my stories and my captions. Follow me on Twitter. I am very new on Twitter now, and I'm almost only exclusively talking about nerdy stuff like this. A lot of you guys have been giving me good feedback on the stuff on Twitter that I've been posting. And sign up for my email weekly newsletter, where I talk about topics like this. I talk about business, productivity, stoicism, all that fun stuff. And to end today's video, I know it was long. I'll let you go shortly. I'd like to leave you with a quote from Eric Torenberg, one of the startup investors I follow most closely, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. So here it is on screen now. See you guys soon. Peace. Just to breathe.